Hey everyone, it's Naya. Welcome back to Diaries and Smile. So 2020 has been a year, you guys. A whole year, all 365 days. We've all felt it, we've all experienced it, but you know what? We have something to look forward to. 2021, new books, new releases, new authors. I don't know about you, but I am so ready. It is that time of the year again, the time when we get to talk about all the amazing books coming out in the following year, which is 2021. For the past 2 weeks, I have been accumulating a list of all the books coming out next year, and you guys, there are so many books, like so many books. I have finally finished compiling my list of the books I am most highly anticipating in 2021. Without further ado, these are the 21 books I am most highly anticipating for 2021. Okay, so book number 1, you guys have better have guessed this one. A Psalm of Storms and Silence by the Queen, Roseanne A. Brown. This book comes out August 31st and I am so excited. My number 1 YA debut fantasy that came out, I think over the summer. Has it been that long already? Feels like just yesterday I read it. Best number 1 debut fantasy book for me that came out this year was A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. You guys, it was based off of West African folklore. It was told in dual POV, which is my favorite. Following 2 main characters, our main male character who was a refugee coming into the city of Zeran, our main female character who was the princess of Zeran. The main male protagonist in this story, his sister ended up getting kidnapped by a vengeful spirit. In order to get her back, he was tasked with having to kill the princess by the end of this week-long festival called Solstagia. This book was so good. The second book in that series comes out on August 31st and I cannot wait. The cover is absolutely gorgeous. So this next book is another book that I am like fingers crossed if any publishers are watching, I would kill for an arc. I would sell my soul for an arc of this book. Mr. Impossible by Maggie Stiefvater. This is book 2 in the Dreamers trilogy, which is a spin-off of the Raven Cycle, which is one of my favorite series of all time. This book comes out on May 18th, which feels just like too far away. I wish it came out in January, but unfortunately we gotta wait till May, which is fine, it's fine. My first book was Call Down the Hawk and it was amazing, like Maggie Stiefvater never disappoints. One of the characters who is my favorite character from the Raven Cycle series is Ronan. Now Ronan has the ability to pull objects out of his dream. As you can imagine, this is an amazing power, but also makes him the target for some pretty scary people. The spin-off series is just following Ronan and his family, but we do have characters that still show up that are from the first book series. So you don't have to read the Raven Cycle to start the Dreamer trilogy, but you kind of have to. Like, at the end of that series, I was just reading the book for Ronan, like for real. Like Ronan was my character. I know Blue and Gansey were supposed to be like the main characters, but by the end, I literally only cared about Ronan and Adam. Like they were just, yes. Yes. Mr. Impossible is book 2 and I was so excited. They kind of gave it like a James Bond-ish, like Bonnie and Clyde cover. That's like the vibe I'm getting, you know? Book number 3 is Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert, releasing on March 9th. 2020 was the year that I really got into romance novels. As you guys know, I've been a fantasy girl majority of my life, but Talia Hibbert has converted me to the romantic comedy part of fiction. So Act Your Age, Eve Brown is the 3rd book in the Brown Sisters series, and it is a romance series following each of these sisters and their romantic involvements. Each book we're following a different sister who has a completely unique and different personality. The very first book was Get a Life, Chloe Brown. The second book was Take a Hint, Danny Brown. And now we have the very last book following the youngest sister, which is Eve Brown. Another book that I am like ready for, but not ready for, but ready for. Gods and Monsters by Shelby Maharin, the highly anticipated finale to her Serpent and Dove trilogy, comes out in August and I am not ready. My number 1 fantasy debut for 2019 was Serpent and Dove. This book is another book told in dual POV. I have a thing for dual POV, okay? I'm sorry, I'm biased. I love it. This book we're following 2 main characters. Our main female character, she is a witch. Because of circumstances, she was forced to marry a witch hunter and he had no idea who she actually was. The second book in that series, Blood and Honey, I read this year. I lived, I died, I was resurrected. I actually have reading vlogs for both of the first books if you guys want to experience the emotions secondhand. Gods and Monsters will be the final book as of now that we know of. Book number 5 is Concrete Rose by the Queen, Angie Thomas. This book comes out on January 15th and it is a prequel to The Hate U Give. Concrete Rose is a book I have been highly anticipating since Angie mentioned it, I think on Instagram or in one of her interviews that she was working on. It takes place 17 years before the events of The Hate U Give. So this book will take place in Garden Heights, which is the same city slash town of The Hate U Give, following Maverick Carter, who is Star Carter's father. So we get to see who he is, and if you guys have read and loved The Hate U Give as much as I did, you will know that Star's father plays a very important role in that book, and it's gonna be very exciting to see kind of who he was and his backstory before Star was born. Book number 6 is Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. You guys, if this book title sounds familiar, it's because this book was actually on my 2020 most anticipated reads list. Because of scheduling, the release date got pushed, so this book comes out in fall of 2021. There's no specific date, we just know it's gonna be fall. October, maybe like August even would be okay. I consider August fall. So if there is one person who just absolutely should write a vampire book, it is J. Kristoff. He is the one author that I know would just kill the vampire scene. Do you get it? He would kill the vampires. Okay. It was a joke. J. Kristoff wrote the Nevernight series, which is one of the best assassin book series ever. So Empire of the Vampire is going to be an adult vampire series, and you guys, this book is predicted to be 800 pages long, and I have never loved a number so much. I just need this book, you guys. Like, I need this book right now. I needed this book yesterday, actually. Hey, book number 7 is An Emotion of Great Delight by Tehedemafi, the Queen. She's one of my favorite authors, and she has a new YA book coming out on June 1st. Tehedemafi wrote the Shatter Me series, which is a book series that is the closest to my heart. It changed my life, and it got me through majority of my teenage years, and I owe Tehedemafi so much. So this book takes place in the year 2003, a few months after the US has declared war on Iraq, and the Muslim community in America is being harassed and attacked more than ever. In the book, we're following a young girl named Shadi, and she wears a hijab. She experiences hate and harassment on a daily basis. She lost her brother, is losing her father is dying, and her mother is essentially falling apart, as one might imagine, having lost a son. So this book as a whole is a look into a Muslim family in the wake of 9/11, and is also a coming of age story of this girl who is dealing with a lot of hate, sorrow, and grief, but also love, and she's growing up and she's experiencing new things for the first time. And knowing that this is a Tehedemafi novel, I know I'm gonna cry. I know it is going to hit directly in the heart, and I'm very excited to read this book. I also really enjoyed her first contemporary novel, which was A Very Large Expanse of Sea, which I highly, highly recommend. Okay, book number 8 is my most highly anticipated debut YA fantasy of 2021. When I saw this book, when I saw the cover, when I read the synopsis, I was hooked. I was hooked. Wings of Ebony by J.L., releasing January 28th. This is a young adult fantasy debut novel. This book, we're following a black teen from Houston as her world is completely upended when she discovers that she has godly ancestry. Following our main character, and she witnesses her mother being shot dead on her front doorstep. Because of this, her father, who she barely knows, comes to whisk her and her little sister away to this magic island called Gazan, the secret island of magic wielders, where she discovers that she is half human and half god. There is an evil force that is threatening both this new world she is in as well as her hometown of Houston, and she is forced to kind of figure out what her magic is and what her power is in order to protect the people she loves. I'm so excited for this book. You guys know, like, since I've read a book with a demigod in it. I think the last book I read was probably The Last Percy or Heroes of Olympus book. Book number 9 on my list is Black Buck by Mateo Oscarapor, and this book comes out on January 5th. I believe it is adult fiction. One of my favorite movies of all times is The Wolf of Wall Street. This book is being compared to that movie a little bit, which is enough for me to like be really excited about it. In this book we're following our main character named Darren. Now Darren works at a Starbucks, and one day he has a chance encounter where he meets the CEO of this new tech startup company. So the CEO guy really likes him and ends up giving him a chance, and he becomes a part of a very elite team of salesmen in this tech startup. He's the only black salesman in this very elite group. So when he joins this company, he reimagines himself as Buck, who is a very ruthless salesman, someone completely different from the person his friends and family know, the person that used to work at Starbucks. He begins to hatch a plan to help young people of color enter America's sales force, and because of this, it then sets off like a chain of events that changes the whole sales game forever. I'm very excited for this book. I love any books that take place like in an office setting. I'm a Capricorn, I'm sorry, I'm biased. I love this stuff. The next book, another book that I've been highly anticipating. I needed this book this year, but unfortunately we don't get it until February 16th of next year. Number 10 is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. You guys know I'm a diehard Sarah J. Maas fan, and the Court of Thorns and Roses series is my absolute favorite series out of everything that she's written. Actually, I read Crescent City, and I think that book series might one up A Court of Thorns and Roses. But we'll see. I have to wait until the other books come out before I make any final decision. Court of Silver Flames is book 4 in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. So in this book we're going to be following Nesta, who is Feyre's older sister. She is a character who I have gone between loving and hating so much. So mean to Feyre in the first book, like such an evil like older stepsister kind of vibe. I'm very excited we get a book dedicated to her because I just need to know what's going on in her head. Also, I ship her and Cassian so hard, and I can't wait to see that unfold. Okay, I totally lied. This next book is my most highly anticipated YA. I just have so many most highly anticipated YA fantasy books. Book number 11 is Blood Like Magic by Lizelle Samsbury. This book comes out on June 5th, and June 5th cannot come soon enough. This book is going to be a new dark YA debut urban fantasy novel, and we're going to be following our main character, who is a witch. So the main character is a witch, and there's this thing called the calling, which is a trial slash test that every witch has to go through and pass in order to get her powers. So our main character does not expect to fail the calling, but she ends up failing. She is given a horrifying second chance where basically she is tasked with having to sacrifice her first love, so the first person she falls in love with, in order to save her family's magic and to come into her power. She has never fallen in love or been in love, so she ends up signing up for this like genetic matching program that matches you the person that you're supposed to fall in love with, and so she ends up meeting this person and hating him. Also, she has to kill him, and maybe she might kind of start falling in love with him. It sounds like it's gonna be amazing. Book number 12 on my list. I'm pretty sure this book is on everyone's list for 2021. The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, and this book comes out on February 9th. I'm so happy it comes out earlier in the year and not like in fall, like some other books on this list. It's going to be a YA high fantasy novel, and I am so ready. This book we're following our main character, who is 16 years old, and she's about to undergo a blood ceremony, which in her village, every person has to take a blood ceremony to determine whether or not they become a permanent member of that village. She has already started to experience things that make her different from other people. So for example, she has a very heightened intuition. She feared during the blood ceremony, her blood is not red, but is actually gold. She will now have to face a consequence that is worse than death. There is a very mysterious woman that comes and visits her and basically gives her two options. She can stay in her village and face these consequences, or she can come with this woman and fight for the emperor in this special army of girls just like her. Girls with special like ability. Oh my god. Like the synopsis, it sold me. I am so excited for this book. Island Queen by Vanessa Riley, releasing July 6th. Island Queen is actually a historical fiction novel that is based off the true life story of Dorothy Kirwan Thomas. I found out about Dorothy Kirwan Thomas because of this Instagram page that I follow that shares black history, specifically like different black entrepreneurs. Dorothy was actually a woman of color who rose up from slavery and became one of the wealthiest and most powerful landowners in the colonial West Indies. So she was born into slavery on a Caribbean island, and she later bought her freedom as well as her mother and her sister's freedom. Incredibly intelligent, and she figured out how to work the system. I'm so excited about this book, mainly because it is based on a true story and I am very interested in learning more about this woman. Hey, book 14 is by one of my favorite authors. I talk about her all the time. Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne, and this book comes out on April 13th. If you don't know, Sally Thorne wrote The Hating Game, which is a no, it is not young adult romance comedy rom-com book. Fantastic. It was another one of those books that just had incredible banter between the two main characters, which I absolutely love. Another book that takes place in an office setting, which I love. Her newest book comes out in April, and this book we're following our main character who works at the front desk of a retirement home. The retirement home is acquired by a new property manager, and this property manager has a son. He just doesn't want to adult. He doesn't want to be an adult. He has no place to live, and the father says that he can live on the property if he works on the property. He becomes the personal assistant to two elderly women, and that is how he then ends up meeting our main female character, and a romance starts to brew. Book number 15 is another contemporary romance book, but this one is in the YA genre. Love is a Revolution by Renee Watson, and it is releasing on February 22nd. This book we are following our main character who she reluctantly decides to attend an open mic night because it's her cousin or her friend's birthday. She doesn't want to go, but she ends up going and instantly falls in love with the MC of the open mic, which I believe his name is Ty Brown. The main male character, Ty Brown, he is an activist and he spends much of his time organizing community events. Our main character much prefers, you know, going to the movies and doing things like that. But she starts falling for this guy and starts telling kind of small lies about herself so that he thinks that they have a lot in common when really they don't. As their relationship progresses, it becomes harder and harder to keep these lies. I'm so excited for this book. Like I said, I'm way more into kind of contemporary romance now than I ever was prior to 2020. Next book, book number 16, is actually a book that I was so lucky to get an ARC of, but I want to mention it anyways because it doesn't come out until April 16th, which is Steeped in Gold by Sienna Smart. This is a Jamaican-inspired YA fantasy novel, and I am so excited. This is another witch book. We have two witches in this book who are sworn enemies and are forced to work together to defeat a dark force. I love witch books. I'm sorry. I just, like, the magic is so diverse. There's so much you can do with a witch book. Book number 17 is Lore by Alexandra Brackett. The book comes out on January 5th, and I believe it is a retelling story. Kind of. This book, every 7 years, 9 Greek gods are forced to walk the earth as mortals, but because of something they did in the past, this is like their punishment, is that they have to be human. That is all I know of the premise. That is all I want to know. I know there is kind of this revenge plot in this story as well, but like I said, I kind of want to go into it not knowing too much. It's an Alexandra Bracken book. I am super pumped for it. Book number 18 is a contemporary book, and it is When Stars Rain Down by Angela Jackson Brown, and this book comes out on April 13th. I believe this is contemporary, but it may also fall under historical fiction. So in this book, we're following our main character who is about to turn 18 years old. It's about to be her birthday when the Ku Klux Klan descends upon her neighborhood, a very tight-knit neighborhood. Now residents, both black and white, are forced to acknowledge the unspoken codes of conduct. Her neighborhood is being terrorized, and she's having to fear for her life and experiencing all of these things. She's also 18 and she's falling in love, and she actually has 2 love interests in this story, and she's kind of torn between them. I'm very excited about this book. A friend actually sent this to me, or like sent the link to Goodreads, and she's like, you should add this to your list. As soon as I read the synopsis, I was like, yes, I am 100% putting this on my list. We Are Not Like Them by Christine Pride and Joe Piazza, and this book comes out on September 15th. This book we're following 2 best friends over their life and their enduring friendship. The first woman is an African-American TV journalist, and the second friend is a working class white woman who is married to a cop. Women come from different backgrounds but have been best friends ever since childhood. This friendship is put to the test when tragedy strikes, and kind of reevaluate their friendship as well, and their relationship and how they experience life differently coming from 2 different backgrounds. I am so excited for this book. Yeah, this one's high on my list. Unfortunately, it doesn't come out till the fall, so I'm gonna have to wait till September. Book number 20 is one of the good ones. This book comes out on January 5th. Thank you for having an early release date. So in this book, we are following the sister of Kezzy Smith. Now, she was a teen social activist, also a history buff. Kezzy attends a social justice rally and ends up dying under mysterious circumstances. Later, Kezzy becomes another immortalized victim of police brutality, and her sister is really kind of starting to question the way the news and the media is portraying her, to really question the idealized way that her sister is being remembered in the media and just around her as being this perfect, angelic person, as one of the good ones. Why are only certain people worthy of being missed? You know, why do you have to have been a straight A student in order to be kind of seen as one of the good ones, right? I am so excited to read this book. I feel like it is so relevant, and I have had this conversation with my family so many times before. I just feel like this book is so perfect, and I'm so happy it's coming out, and I'm very much looking forward to reading it. And the very last book, book number 21, is Sisters of the Snake by Serena and Sasha Nanui. This is another YA fantasy book. I gotta end with a YA fantasy book. In this book, we are following twin sisters, just like the authors, they are twin sisters. So these two sisters, I imagine, were separated at birth because one of them became the princess and the other one grew up in the streets and has to steal just to get by. By chance, these sisters finally end up meeting and immediately realize that they're identical twins. The sister, who is a princess, has longed to be free of her gilded cage and to live like a normal life. So they decide to make a deal and they switch places. But both girls realize that there is a danger in both of their worlds, and so they have to now work together to defeat this evil. Okay, that is my full list of most highly anticipated books for 2021. Thank you so much if you have made it to the end. I greatly appreciate you watching it. Until next time, keep reading, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!